Hey guys, welcome into Duly Projected, and today we are looking at the Iowa Caucus, which will be held on Monday. So let's get our predictions in, shall we? The name of the channel, Duly Projected, is all about looking at these elections, mostly from a math or polling type of equation, but we also take in the human factor as well. But this is our first contest we get to project, so I'm kind of excited for it. Now, it is the Iowa Caucus, and, it's the best because it's the first. It gets to kind of set the precedent, set the stage for the candidates. There's a lot of campaign movement within this state, and the reason candidates, and their campaigns put so much emphasis in this state is because you want to get your name out there as far as like creating that momentum in the first four states for Super Tuesday. People can look at polls, people can look at commercials and all that, but when it comes down to it, Americans just want to see results. And if you do show positive results, you're more than likely to get some of those unlikely voters that may or may not have come to your side. You get more of those in the coming states, and that's why momentum is such a key and crucial component to the primary. So we're going to take a look at some of the polling data here in Iowa, and we're going to make our predictions. So let's check it out. Poll I want to take a look at is the RCP polls, and basically this is Real Clear Politics. What they do is they compile all the polls into one place, and then they get an aggregate average. So I'm going to make it to where you can see this pretty good. So we're taking a look at polls. This is the most current polls to, back in history. So newest to latest here. And what I like to do is I don't like to mix polls. I like to see kind of the movement within each poll. So if we're looking at Monmouth, like for instance with Bernie Sanders, latest poll is 21, the one before it 18, and the one before it 13. So you can't really gain too much from that. Buttigieg, his Monmouth was 16, 17, and 22, so he slipped a little bit. So there's a lot of fluidity with all of these polls, as you can see. Now, if you want to look at the most recent and who has won it, it's really been between Sanders and Biden trading off here. So to me, it's kind of like a two-man race in Iowa as far as who's going to get the bulk share of delegates. They're going to not share delegates, but they're going to get a proportional allocation of delegates. So it's not like a winner-take-all state or anything like that. So right now, Sanders on the aggregate for RCP average is 3 points better than Biden. And the crucial number here is that 14 to 15 number, because let's say how Iowa works is you go first ballot and you have over 15% of those people in that precinct voting for you, then you can continue as a viable candidate. So if you're remaining in the race in those precincts, then that gives you the ability to possibly gain more delegates down the road. But if you're under that 15% clip, then those votes are basically going to go to another candidate within the precinct level. So like I said, all of this is going to average out. You're going to have some precincts more in favor of Sanders, more in favor of Biden, some that go with Buttigieg, some that go with Warren, and so on and so forth. So yeah, let's take a look now at the poll movement. So like I said, you got your aggregate total at the top, and this shows you here the poll movement over the past 6 months, or actually, over the past month. So I kind of wanted to just look at it for January, since seeing this movement is going to kind of give you an indication of where the votes may lie. And you can see here Sanders kind of dips, Biden passes him comes back, and they both go on the increase here and kind of tail off. And you kind of notice that on many polls with poll history, is Sanders and Biden has a kind of like a similar trajectory among the polls. Buttigieg actually was, in the hunt here as far as like possibly winning the state, but he's kind of fallen off. And it's kind of weird because, with the impeachment going on in DC, you would think he would see a positive increase. And maybe because this polling history is always like a week or 2 weeks behind, like the data itself is 2 weeks or a week or 2 weeks behind when the actual report date is. Maybe he did have an increase. That's the one thing we'll just have to wait and see what happens on caucus day to see if he actually did get a bump from that. So you can see here, basically between Sanders and Biden as far as like who's going to get that 1 and 2 spots. And then, Buttigieg and Warren are heading, neck and neck here, right at the 14 to 15 mark. And this is the aggregation on the wiki page. Like we saw the RCP aggregation. Now we have 2 more sites, total aggregation. So you see here, basically 3-point edge for Bernie Sanders. Same thing for Pete Buttigieg and Elizabeth Warren. So basically that is what my pick is going to be. I'm picking Bernie Sanders to win Iowa. And when we talk about win Iowa, I'm saying he's going to get, he's going to get a higher number of delegates in proportion for him. So that's the thing, though, is like the media, unless somebody's really paying attention and knows that, oh, this is just, 41 delegates out of close to 4,000, like, close to 1% of all delegates that's going to be given to each candidate. Unless somebody really like understood that, they're just going to see the media proclaim so-and-so the winner of the Iowa Caucus. So that has a big, huge impact on people's perception, and in politics, perception is reality. So that's why it's such a big deal as far as who gets that 1 spot versus the 2 spot. As far as delegates go, not really that big of a deal, but as far as perception, a pretty big deal, and some momentum that either of these candidates can gain from. So, and we actually do have a prediction. I just saw this when I was just kind of Googling, and it's Polly. And Polly predicted Brexit, Trump, and Boris. Now she's predicting Bernie Sanders to win Iowa. So I'm not sure what Polly is, IA or something like that. Advanced. Who is Polly? Polly is a creation of Advanced Symbolics Inc. Okay, it's AI. So, all right, yeah, good on it for AI to predict that. So that's what I have in Iowa. I have a Bernie Sanders number 1, Joe Biden number 2, and for the 3rd spot, I'm going to give this to Buttigieg just because he had a little bit of advantage the last month, and I am going to give Elizabeth Warren the 4th spot. So we will see. I will come back and compare my notes, see how I did, and we will see what the first results lie. You all have a good evening, and I will see you on the next one. Take care.